With a week to go, Dune has released their final livestream before launch. Get comfortable and buckle in because today I'm going to show you the highlights from the Beyond the Beta stream. First, we have a taster cinematic that goes over the different stages of combat within Dune, with the fusion of combat types displayed being melee, shields, ranged, abilities, and even vehicles. Yes, that's a buggy with a turret on the top. Pretty insane. Early game, you'll be scrapping out with scavs with a mauler and a scrap knife. Not awfully effective, but it will get the job done. Shields are a whole other ball game. They can only be broken with certain weapon types such as melee weapons, including kindle, sword, rapiers, and daggers. For range, you can try the drill shot or the disruptor SMG. Just bear in mind your shield will deactivate when using ranged, and so will the enemies. Lots of exciting ways to get involved with combat in Dune.
Abilities can turn the tide of any battle. Swordmasters use their deflection ability to close the distance and bring their crippling strikes to bear on their enemies. Troopers use their techniques to take to the air and bring death from above. Bene Gesserit stop enemies in their tracks with the power of the voice, or use their Bindu dash to quickly close the gap. Mentats control the battlefield with their sentinel, or use the Hunter-Seeker for a silent takedown.
This takes us to our next segment where Natasha, Joel, and Scott discussed how the beta went. They were very pleased about how it went and enjoyed seeing players get involved and trying out Dune for the first time to see if it was the game for them or not. They did address a couple of issues that cropped up, including the Tyler 1 moment from their previous livestream.
So that by launch we'll fix that for sure. This is not intentional.
I love how
Jesus
much.
Christ.
I love how you guys are like, we'll just fix it, no worries. Nah, man's getting cut.
Just bullying at this point.
Oh, this is so mean. Oh my
Tyler is loving it.
Now in game is the Second Wind ability. It detects if you're being stun locked and regens stamina, giving you enough to dodge out of the way. Attacks have proper stamina costs added to them, meaning you cannot pummel forever. You can use heavy attacks to stagger people and slow blade to finish them off. We then got to see some mid-tier gameplay of someone harvesting Erythrite crystals on a farming buggy we've seen from a previous stream. This vehicle is a multi-seater and is ideal for farming as it has a huge inventory space. They're driving through the Hagga Rift currently, which is a dark, dreary chasm untouched by the sun. It's very different from the rest of Arrakis, and apparently you can find a shipwreck hidden within it. Up above is a huge vertical spired biome. You can see wreckages from the war throughout it. Check out this fancy Atreides base.
Atreides. Woo!
There's loads of space for vehicles and a massive water system that is holding 100,000 milliliters of water. Now that's hydration.
So if you're in a chest in the game and you have a vehicle anywhere on your lane claim, you can go to the top of the inventory on the left there where it says backpack, up there, and click the drop down, and you can select the vehicle storage. This is a massive quality of life for getting things in and out of your vehicles.
Cloud storage is insane. This is so helpful. Thanks closed beta people for asking for this feature. Now they are building the medium assault Ornithopter. You can co-op build this with anybody you like as long as you've given them permissions to do so. We can also see a vault-like storage container. This Ornithopter means business. It has several wings and even missiles. In this stream, they've decided to swatch the Ornithopter, so you can make it look however you like as long as you've unlocked the color palette for it. They skinned it with the Atreides Ornithopter, which you can unlock by leveling up through the factions. Take it off with the Thick Boy Express. Look at the size of him. We get a bird's eye view of Jabal and even get to see a trading post within, just on the border of the shield wall. a biome we haven't seen before. It's safe from the sandworm up here, but the enemies called the sandflies are a lot harder to fight. It's very rocky and mountainous up here in the north. Passing through, we reach a biome called the oodham, and you can see cacti here. It's a much more luscious region, as it has been subject to experiments on Arrakis. Get me a base here, I love me some succulents. We get shown off a building we've never seen before, and this is because it's a Twitch drop set. It reminds me of Bubble Wrap. There's a lot of production machines here working away, crafting armor and vehicles. Loads of machinery crafting stations within Dune Awakening, which is no surprise as in Conan they loved a good crafting station. Within these machines, you can somewhat automate them with the circuits, so you can set them up to feed materials into one from another. Exploring the base, there are decorations all over. To get these, you need to explore the world and talk to people, or buy them from trading posts. Check out this gigantic power station of Mysa Tarill with a dead sandworm draped across it. Landing at the nearby trading post, another one we've never seen before. This is Mysa Tarill's trading post. Inside we meet a Ornithopter pilot who you can use in-game to fly to different places such as the social hubs, as long as you got cash on hand. Welcome to Arakeen, the Atreides social hub.
One of the features we have in the game is the community system. And when a player opens their CommuniNet, they can choose radio stations to listen to in the game, a la like a Fallout game or a GTA game. And this guy, Finno Gary, he runs this trash shop, but he actually has a show on the Atreides radio. Yeah. And if you listen to the show, it's his daughter talking about their adventures on how they got all this salvage that shows up. So it's kind of fun to just like narratively listen. You know, we tried to connect everything in the world. This is, again, I want to make this point because I feel like I see it sometimes online, and it's a little, let's say, disheartening. People, we were advertising the game and saying the word MMO, and then people were like, oh, they took all that off, and we took it off because we do feel like this is a huge world completely worth exploring with lots of other people, but it's not an MMORPG, and people were getting confused by that. Yeah. So we took it down. But I think it's clear when you look at places like our social hubs, our exchange system, our banking system, that we have a lot of elements from those style of games here, right? So yeah, we're looking at the exchange right now.
In the exchange is the banker. We get to see how much we can store within our banks here. So if you're planning to have a hiatus from the game, you want to visit the banker to store your goods within for safekeeping, unaffected by the decay system. Further within Arakeen is the tax collector. You'll have to pay taxes if you use an advanced sub-thief. Alas, you're not immune from taxes even within the world of gaming. You can find the Landsrat in here, the advanced mentors for classes, and many different vendors. Leaving the social hub, we come into the Overland map, which you usually access with an Ornithopter.
This is where we have the ability to infinitely expand this game, where we have multiple maps that players can go to. I think this is where you go to reach the deep desert. This is where you go to reach several of the story maps. Right now we've landed on a fuel deposit. We're just picking up a bit of fuel, refueling our Ornithopter on there. We're able to expand here for a long time, and this is kind of part of what, again, we wanted to do to make this a coherent universe.
Yeah. So post-launch, there will be new locations that show up here.
Yes.
We'll have events that have locations here for short durations, right? For to shake things up, and eventually when we release huge content drops, they'll be accessible through the Overland map.
In the Overland map, you can find story dungeons. These are part of Act 2. So once you've finished up Act 1 within the Hagga Basin, the next part of the story for you to conquer is Act 2.
We're skipping ahead here. We've jumped to the part of the mission where you're heading towards the Watershipper's Mansion, which is in the Imperial Basin just outside of Arakeen. The player is being sent there to assassinate and poison this Watershipper on behalf of Alara Tuek. And so we come to this new level on the Overland map.
Avoid the spotlights and find what you need within. Yargan gives us directions on where to go to find our objective within the mansion. Stealth abilities like the ones within the Bene Gesserit are extremely helpful here, to distract the guards so you can have a smoother entry into the building. The building is filled with traps and different obstacles to overcome. It all looks insanely cool and opens up another angle to what you can do within Dune Awakening. Act 1 focuses on the survival part of the game, whereas Act 2 pivots into politics and a deep story provided within the universe. This section of the stream focuses on endgame and the Landsrad. Joel gives us his view on what the endgame is within Dune. This talk lasted for quite some time, so I'll give you a sum up with some of the Deep Desert gameplay. The vision for Dune is being part of something great. A small cog in the massive machine of the universe. But even though you're the small cog, you can have a massive effect with the choices you make. So the first part, you build yourself up through the raw survival experience, fill the storms, the worms, the sand and the sun. Get yourself stable on Arrakis. Then advance and participate in the big umbrella of the world. Get involved in the weekly Deep Desert map reset. Explore the landscape there that ever changes. Join a guild and follow their leader on objectives your guild wants to focus on within the Deep Desert for the week. For a chance to win for your faction and your guild within the weekly Landsrad mission. Moving over to the Deep Desert section, the idea is you spawn in the PvE area here, which is 10% of the map. Build a base, which is 50% cheaper here, as Funcom want you to be able to build up very quickly in the Deep Desert. And get to exploring. For those who just want to PvE, you could just explore this starting area for shipwrecks and ecolabs. For those who'd like to go further, you can risk going into the PvP zone.
Let's see that we're going to see 3 weeks of Coriolis Storm changes to the map. So this is week 1, and then we move to, and you can see that there's like 1 ecolab, a shipwreck, and a cave there, right, and a small base, and some spice blows that have been marked. And then to the next week, the layout has changed. Where
Same
things
tile.
are is different. There's a control point now in the bottom left. There's an ecolab in a different place and a shipwreck that's been uncovered.
And there will be different loot and different schematics
Different loot
that you
in all
get.
of them. And then we go 1 more week again. And now you can see that this is a bit larger. There's another control point. It's a different house control point now. Different spaces on the map. A couple of ecolabs this time. 4 or 5 caves and the shipwreck. So you can sort of see how this changes and how this loot encourages exploration.
If you're a scout, you can patrol the 81 sections of the Deep Desert, explore and do cartography. Build up your sync charts and share it with your guild. They can consume these and it will show them the map you've surveyed. It's a whole role in itself. Here they are building a transport ornithopter. It's absolutely massive. This orni can pick up things and it can pick up almost any ground vehicle in the game. Entering onto the Deep Desert, there is a whole ocean of sand. This is where PvP combat can happen. It's an absolutely massive space in the world, and it's described to be what most people have envisioned when they see a game based on Dune and the world of Arrakis. It is an unforgiving ocean of sand. Here we can see the house control point. Both Atreides and Harkonnen are fighting over it to win the last slot on their bingo card. So on the Landsrad page, you can see the Atreides need this square to win a row, but so does Harkonnen. It's like an advanced game of Connect 4. 5 red plastic circles in a row and you win. Funcom has added a number system only for parties, so you can see your party members with a little icon on top of their head. They won't allow it for guilds as a Zerg prevention measure. They express if you want to see your guildies, it might be worth having a guild outfit code. Look at this massive spice blow! Using the transport thopter, we pick up the spice harvester and we're going to take it to the spice blow to farm. All the endgame items need spice to make them, so this activity is very much needed. On the ground are bikes who are placing thumpers down. This is to distract the sandworms so they don't eat the harvester. The ground is rumbling, which means the grandfather worm is coming. Everyone needs to get out of there before he comes to swallow them whole. Here we get our first proper look at the ring-mouthed worm in game. And he is insane looking and absolutely massive compared to the tiny worms we're used to seeing in Hagga Basin. He's incredible. This makes me so excited for launch day. They want the deep desert to always be a pinnacle of activity. So they are adding DLCs and things within them, but the deep desert will always have the most powerful gear. And if these DLCs give new items, they will add them to the deep desert for you to explore and farm. Next up, we see their deep desert test they performed with their beta testers. This was to test the deep desert and stress test it.
The context of the stress test, by the way, was like we were testing people crossing the server boundaries with our mesh servers and fighting
that little
on them.
Ornithopter back there. Sorry, it's like, sorry, go ahead.
And fighting along the server boundaries just to see how the performance was. So you'll see people firing rockets, and yeah, it was a cool test. I think we got a lot of very useful data out of this.
Yeah.
And seeing how people were fighting together.
Also, shout out to our automation team because they every build, right? We have the deep desert, and they have basically they deploy our automation system called Legion, and it goes and it tests all of these things, right? So it's got hundreds of ornithopters going back and forth between all the zone boundaries.
This is the Quatermaster. You deliver the spice to this guy to attempt to win over houses within the Landsrad. Doing this will work up some favor with House Alexan. You can check the details in these if you hover over the houses within the Landsrad menu. They did show off the Mentat trailer here. They've been showing off trailers for different classes on their YouTube all week, so I'll move ahead of that and we'll go straight to the Q&A.
Is the exchange global or per server?
It is per world. So the world is what we call a container of all the Hagga Basin that you will play and interact with, right? So there are hundreds of worlds, so it is not global.
Yeah, it is one deep desert per world, 2 social hubs per world, and then many Hagga Basins per world.
Are the Overland map dungeons instanced per player? Can you do them as a group, or are they open like the social hubs?
The answer is that they are not instanced for a group. They are per player, and they're not open like the social hubs.
How do the different circuits work?
They basically isolate resources so that they can only be used if they're on that circuit. And then you can set a circuit for it's a little bit hard in the UI, but you can set like a machine's input and output circuit that way. And so that's kind of the extent with it.
Like draw from this storage, deliver to this storage when you're finished.
How will they ensure balance between Harkonnen and Atreides?
There are systems. I think I talked about this in that other. When we introduce a third faction, which we are planning to, it will also have a role in that balance. But that's basically what I can say right now. I think we have pretty good systems in place to make sure that at least feels like it balances itself out pretty well.
Yes, and the deep desert is not Atreides versus Harkonnen.
Yes.
It is every person for themselves, right? So even if Harkonnen are kind of dominating a server, or they're 60-40, they're going to be fighting themselves in the deep desert as well.
The Landsrad, you can see the different within the factions who the top guilds are and who contributed the most, because a part of the Dune thing is that like it isn't that like everybody in Atreides is a monolith. It's actually like people want the Duke's attention, so they want to be further up. And the same with the Harkonnen, right? Like I want the Baron to witness me, so I'm trying to get to the top of the list of guilds. So there should be inter-guild competition.
One Atreides guild might be focused on PvP, the other one might be super opposed to PvP.
Yep.
So they definitely don't want the PvP guild to like get, we want full PvP. So they will work against them and we want to be top because we want to have more say in which decree we're actually going to have next week.
Yeah, like exactly. A crafting guild's going to want the crafting decrees.
Exactly.
And they're not going to want the PvP full loot decree, right?
Exactly.
So there's going to be that kind of competition, even within the factions.
Yeah. Can our bases get raided?
So not in Hagga Basin. They will be safe in Hagga Basin. In the deep deserts, it's a bit different.
Yeah, in the PvE section of the deep desert, no.
Yeah.
But in the PvP section of the deep desert, there is a mechanism by which bases have a vulnerability window where they can be raided. It is a very short vulnerability window, and again, I would point to the lore of the Dune universe.
Ultimate Alchemist, if I don't take the mission to talk with House Atreides or Harkonnen, will I be content locked as far as progressing? Sorry,
No,
the main story and the ability to craft.
No.
Yeah, no. The story, I mean, while it involves House Atreides and the Harkonnen, it is not about that. It's about you and your role on Dune.
It's your quest to find the Fremen and wake the
Exactly.
sleeper, right?
Yeah.
So the main story follows that. What we were talking about and what we were showing earlier with the different faction unlocks, like in terms of the visuals and those things, you're locked out of if you don't want to join a faction.
But those
You
are
can't
pure vanity.
But they're pure vanity, right?
No mechanics.
You cannot join the Landsrad unless you have aligned yourself with a faction.
Cooper is asking, is there a level cap?
Yes.
Yeah.
I believe we're at 200.
Yeah.
And there's a point where you run out of, like, you stop getting unlock points for your tech tree, intel points. And then we have a mechanic in the game for you to go around and unlock more intel points by going to bases in the world, like enemy bases and outposts.
Is it possible to lose all your gear in PvP?
So not in PvP in the base level. In the deep desert, you lose resources that you're carrying, Solari and Spice. And you take durability damage to some of your gear, right? That's what happens every time you die, PvE or PvP. But if there's a specific decree from the Landsrad which enables full loot PvP in the deep desert for 1 week, then that's the only time in the game where you can lose all your gear in PvP.
Are we going to be able to get blueprints that devs made of their bases?
Oh, the Tor Eigel presents.
Exactly, this is Tor Eigel presents. That's actually very
That's a
cool. I
great
love
idea.
that idea. That's actually a very cool
Maybe we can
idea.
fill up some vendors post-launch.
Will GeForce now be in Dune Awakening?
I believe so.
Yes.
Yeah.
I don't know.
There's
I have no idea.
discussions going on.
There's
at least.
discussions. I can't remember what the last is, but people are looking at it. Yeah.
How do you balance the council wins? If one side gets unique weapons, won't that side have a better chance to win the next vote down the line?
Not necessarily, because the tasks for the Landsrad are pulled from, like, so there's 25 tasks per week, and there's a pool of like 400 tasks that can potentially show up. So you, first of all, don't necessarily know what's going to be there. Unique weapons doesn't actually influence everything. Some of the tasks are kill tasks. You don't know which tasks are going to be revealed first. You also have to bribe Landsrad envoys with spice to reveal tasks, and if your faction does it before the other faction, you'll see, okay, we need to do this, so you might just get ahead because you had more spice or whatever. It's not going to come down to unique weapons. Absolutely not. That's not going to be the thing that means that one side gets a sudden landslide kind of advantage.
Is there any content or materials that are hidden behind PvP, meaning that the only way to obtain that item gear material is to risk losing to large guilds?
I wouldn't say hidden, but yeah. Like you can. The deep desert, which we just explained, is a place where tier 6 gear is, like items and materials for crafting those things. You need to go there to get those things. You can buy them off the exchange. You can trade for them with other people. But yes, you have to go to that place in order to get those things. And there is a risk of people attacking you when you're in that place. We tried to explain that this is a very large place. It's not going to be possible for a guild to cover the entire space. It's just not going to be possible.
Yeah. I think guild limit's 32.
The guild limit is 32 people.
Yeah. So 1 per kilometer, maybe, if they stretch
Yeah,
across.
they'd have to stretch all the way across. And even then, I think there's all kinds of tactics and ways to draw them off. And I don't think it's going to be a problem.
There are potentially hundreds and hundreds of people that can be in the deep desert,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So one guild would be outnumbered by 100 people.
Do you need a sync chart for each person in your guild?
Yes. You need to create a sync chart for every person who's going to want to reveal those things that you've got in your sync
They're
chart.
single-use items.
Yeah, they're single-use items, consumables.
Can transport ornithopters carry other ornithopters?
Yes, they can.
They can indeed.
They can indeed. I was playing it earlier. I was flying around carrying a medium ornithopter
Yes,
with
they
my
can pick
transport
up pretty
and
much
assault.
anything.
Yeah.
And
Or
again, they have
anything
passengers
vehicular.
too.
Yes, vehicular. Can't pick up people.
No.
Unless they're...
Inside.
They're sitting inside a vehicle.
And that's a wrap. Here are the launch times for the 5th and the 10th. For the preload of the game, it's a day before the 5th at the same time. So you can download the game a day before launch day. If you like this recap, smash a like on the video and subscribe for some more Dune Awakening content. That's it from me. Thank you for watching. I love you, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye bye!